So anyhow, hi everyone. On behalf of the Augusta Memorial Public Library, thank you for joining us for today's virtual presentation. If you have any questions or want more information, you can visit the library in person, 113 North Stone Street in Augusta, Wisconsin, or you can visit their webpage, augustalibrary.org. Today's program is titled Let's Talk About Preventing Diabetes. And the program was developed by Wisconsin Health Literacy, which is a statewide organization that puts on programs like this to help people stay healthy. We worked with doctors and pharmacists to put together today's program about diabetes. And we'd especially like to thank Security Health Plan for supporting this project. My name is Cassie McLean, and I am the Regional Community Coordinator for the North Central Region for Wisconsin Literacy. Oh my gosh, I don't believe it. We got to start over again. I'm frozen again. Okay, let me try. Let's see if I go back.
I'm thinking it must be an internet issue on your end if it keeps freezing, because it's going fine here.
Yep, hang on just a minute. All right, we're going to go here. I'm going to do this because, okay, folks, we're starting the PowerPoint over again. Let's see if we can get this going. And today we are going to talk about the different types of diabetes. We're going to talk a little bit about type 2 diabetes, give you some information about that. And then we're also going to discuss some of the different ways that you can prevent diabetes. So first, a question. What do you think of when you hear the word diabetes? Just think about that for a moment. Well, many people know about diabetes, but they don't understand what it is. Simply, diabetes is a disease that causes too much sugar in the blood. So when we eat, sugar from our food goes into our blood. This happens whether you have diabetes or not, but with diabetes, we aren't able to control how much of the sugar stays in our blood, and that can cause problems. It's important to start out by looking at the sugar that gets added to foods. The added sugar limit, the American Heart Association has put out some requirements for this. For men, no more than 9 or 36 grams of added sugar. For women, no more than 6 teaspoons or 25 grams of sugar. Now, how do you know how much sugar is added to a food? Well, that's when we start to look at nutrition labels. And you can see on the example I have on the screen, the added sugars are 10 grams of the total sugar that's in this product. So I have a little assignment for you. When the presentation is done, I want you to go and pull out a whole variety of different products from your pantry or from your cupboard and look at those food labels. See if you can find out how much added sugar are in those different foods. This is important to look at what you have in your cupboard at home, but when you're grocery shopping, this is a great way to start limiting some of the added sugar. If you're buying a cereal, you can look at how much added sugar is in that product and start to compare, and you can choose those that have less added sugar. Now we're talking about added sugar. It is important to know that foods naturally have sugar in them. For instance, a large banana, 17 grams of sugar. That's not added sugar. That's the amount of sugar that's in that product naturally. The good thing about getting your sugar naturally is that it also comes along with fiber and other vitamins and minerals and nutrients that we need. Comparing that to that cup of Fruit Loops, you can see that that has 13 grams of added sugar to it. So not the best choice when we're looking at what we're going to be eating. We also see that a can of soda, in this case it's Coca-Cola, 42 grams of added sugar. And if you remember back a couple slides, I mentioned that men should get no more than 36 grams of added sugar and women 25 grams of added sugar in a day. You have one can of regular soda and you've already passed that up. If you have more than one can of soda a day, you can see how there can be problems. And then we have items like the peanut butter, which contains 2.5 grams of added sugar. So not a bad choice if you're looking for something to snack on or have a little extra. And you need to be careful of sugar that just shows up in items where you might not expect it. 2 tablespoons of ketchup, 8 grams of added sugar. You can see this nice large glass of juice. I actually had to look at this because I don't think in 355 milliliters, I don't know how much that was. Well, when you look at that, that's a 12-ounce glass of orange juice. A serving of juice is considered 4 ounces. So if you drink a big 12-ounce glass of juice, the sugar in that product is there naturally. It's 33 grams, but it's a lot more than you need when really you only need a third of that is considered a serving. And then something like grapes, once again, 15 grams of sugar in a cup of grapes. So you want to watch for added sugars in foods, but also make good choices with the foods you're choosing that have sugar in them naturally. So what is diabetes? Well, our bodies can make insulin to bring the sugar down. So insulin is a really important part of this whole equation. If our bodies cannot make enough insulin, then our blood sugar is going to get too high. Too much sugar in the blood can lead to problems all over the body. You can have problems with your eyes, your kidneys, your feet. And if you have any family members who have already been diagnosed with diabetes, you know that these are areas that they have to be so careful with. So there are 2 types of diabetes. We typically talk about type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes. Type 1 happens mostly in kids, and that's when your body doesn't make any insulin at all. It's less common, and you always need medicine to treat it. Type 2 diabetes mostly happens in adults. The body makes some insulin, but not enough. So that's why it can kind of be a progressive thing that doctors start looking at. If they notice that your blood sugar level is starting to stay up, it may be because the disease is progressing and you're slowly producing less and less insulin. Type 2 diabetes is actually very common, and it can be treated with diet, with exercise, and with medicines if needed. Now, the rest of the presentation, we're going to talk about type 2 diabetes. So type 2 diabetes is one of the most common health problems in the United States. Over 34 million Americans have type 2 diabetes. So what are the things that can increase your risk of developing type 2 diabetes? Well, we don't completely understand why some people get diabetes and others don't. But type 2 diabetes is more common in people who are overweight. When you're overweight, your body needs more insulin. If you don't exercise often, exercise actually helps your body use sugar in useful ways, and it also helps your body produce insulin. If you have family members with diabetes, like many diseases, diabetes can run in the family. If you have high blood pressure, the same things that put you at risk for high blood pressure put you at risk for type 2 diabetes. If you're over the age of 45, just like so many other things that happen in our body, things can get worse as we start to get older. And also African American, Hispanic, Latinx American, Native American, and Pacific Islanders are all at a higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So if you're worried about whether or not you have diabetes, what are some of the symptoms that you could look for? Well, people with diabetes may notice that they feel very thirsty all the time. They may have to pee often and wake up many times in the night to use the bathroom. They may feel very tired. They may find that they're very hungry all the time. They may start to have problems with their vision, with their eyesight. If they get a cut or a sore, it may heal very slowly. And tingling, pain, or no feeling in your hands or feet. Those are all symptoms that you want to make sure you talk to your doctor about if you're experiencing any of those. Some of you may have heard the term prediabetes. What does prediabetes mean, and how is it different from diabetes? Well, first of all, prediabetes is reversible. It can be changed, and it needs to be managed. Diabetes is not reversible. Once you get a diagnosis of diabetes, it can't be changed, but it can be managed. Prediabetes is generally determined by your blood sugar levels. So if your doctor's checking your blood sugar levels and he's starting to see that those levels are rising, they're not quite at the level that we would diagnose diabetes, but they're at a level that's concerning. They may give you that diagnosis of prediabetes. And what that means is then you really need to start working on making some lifestyle changes, because prediabetes left unmanaged is going to lead to diabetes. So prediabetes, as I said, can be managed, and you can live a very healthy life. Why should you see a doctor if you're concerned about diabetes? Well, first of all, it's a chronic disease. If you get that diagnosis of diabetes, it is a chronic disease and it is not going to go away. Without treatment, the blood sugar levels that are too high for a long time can cause damage to the body. So you have to see a doctor to help you get the type of treatment, make sure that you're following all of the recommendations to help get that under control. So to help live a healthy life and to stop you from having problems that we've already talked about: loss of sight, kidney injury, losing the feeling in your hands and feet, sores and cuts that aren't going away. It can keep you from having a heart attack. Having diabetes gives you a strong risk of having a heart attack as well as a stroke. I wanted to just mention a little bit about diabetes during COVID. Obviously, we've been dealing with COVID for a long time now. And one of the things that we are seeing, 25% of the people who have been hospitalized with COVID had diabetes. 40% of the people who have died from COVID had diabetes. You may have heard discussion about that pre-existing conditions put you at a higher risk for more severe symptoms, for having to be hospitalized, for dying. Diabetes is one of those pre-existing conditions, and that's why we have to be so careful. And just in this whole time of COVID, we have folks dealing with more stress, isolation, less preventative care. They were skipping visits to the doctor because they were trying to stay quarantined or to stay away from other people. But all of that can lead to problems. So just remember that diabetes is a pre-existing condition. And so in this time of COVID, we have to be even more careful. So how can you prevent diabetes? That's what this presentation is all about. What do we know that we can do? The three most important ways to prevent diabetes are eating a healthy diet. One of the biggest things we can do is make changes to our diet. Exercising, that is another excellent way to help us prevent diabetes. And the third way, seeing your doctor at least every year. Get that visit in so you can make sure that things are still going well. So healthy foods, exercise, and visits to the doctor, they work together to prevent diabetes. You can't do just one. You want to have all three of those. And you just see what works for you. You make a plan and you stick to it. That's really the best thing you can do. So I very quickly said, eat a healthy diet. Well, how much easier could that be? Well, we all know it is not easy, but there are some things that you need to know about eating a healthy diet. Some types of foods cause your blood sugar to be higher than others. Eating foods with lots of sugar and fat in them can cause your blood sugar to go up. The first part of the presentation, we talked about that added sugar in foods. So if you're looking at eating a healthy diet, that's one place that you can start. You can make a decision every day which food you're going to eat based on how much added sugar is in that food. Also, eating lots of fruits and vegetables can help your blood sugar stay low. You can get some of the natural sweetness in fruits and vegetables, but you also get fiber and you get those other nutrients that are so important. Healthy foods can also help you lose weight, and not being overweight is a big part of preventing diabetes. If your weight is up, that increases your chance of developing diabetes. So let's talk a little bit about what we should or shouldn't be eating when we're talking about healthy diet. So with fruits, fresh fruit is best. And it's better to eat fruits whole than to blend them in a smoothie. And this just has to do with the fiber in the food. If you can keep that fiber in a smoothie, you're kind of getting rid of some of that. But if you eat that fruit whole, you're going to get that fiber, and that is a really important part of it. Although a smoothie is wonderful and certainly tasty and a nice way to start out the day, but you don't want all of your fruit to be coming to you that way. Try not to eat canned fruit with added syrup or sugar. Remember, we're trying to keep away from that added sugar. With vegetables, the more colors on your plate, the better. If you're a person who says, I had my vegetables, I had my potatoes, well, that's fine, but try some different vegetables every day to see what you like. And just think about how much color can I get onto my plate. The more color, the better. Remember, whole grains are a good choice. If you currently typically eat white rice, try switching to brown rice. Wild rice is a nice way to add some grains into different foods. Oatmeal, quinoa, barley, look for those whole grains. Almonds, cashews, pecans, sunflower seeds, nuts and seeds are also a good choice. And beans, there's so many different choices when it comes to beans. And if you're looking for a simple way to add in a little bit of extra protein, put some chickpeas or garbanzo beans into your salad. It's a great way. They add a nice little extra flavor and a little bit of crunch, and great way to add in that extra food. For meat, fish is going to be a good choice, like salmon, seafood, eggs, and chicken breasts. Try to limit a little bit the red meats that you're eating. And of course, with dairy products, skim milk, low-fat yogurt, low-fat cottage cheese. Those are some great choices and a good way to get a healthy diet. Start working on your diet with a friend or a family member who also wants to eat healthy foods. Make some goals, plan your meals together. It's always nice to have someone who you need to be accountable to. And for additional tips, you can look up a diabetes diet online and you can get some nice meal ideas. And also, if you have questions, generally a health system is going to have dietitians or health educators that can provide information on this. And because we're doing this presentation for the library, remember to check with your reference librarian. You would be surprised how much great information they have. Try not to eat fast food. It is fast. It's convenient, but it's also loaded with salt, with fat, and sugar. And sometimes that sugar shows up in unexpected places. So really try not to eat fast food, limit it as much as you can. And also don't add a lot of salt to your food. That's just one of those things that can help us if we're dealing with high blood pressure. And remember, having high blood pressure is one of those additional risk factors. If you're cooking, make large amounts of healthy food, save them in the fridge for a couple days. If you are making large amounts of healthy food, think about freezing servings. You don't want to keep things in the refrigerator for more than a couple days. And if you freeze them, that means you can keep that variety going. You don't have to eat the same thing for 4 days. Try not to eat right before going to bed. Your body, your metabolism slows down when you're sleeping. And so that means you're not digesting that food as quickly as you could. Try not to drink alcohol. Really look at, generally they say 1 to 2 glasses or 2 drinks is okay, but not even every day. Try to keep that for special occasions. Try desserts with less sugar, like dark chocolate or a popsicle or a smoothie made from real fruit. And it's okay to have these different foods, just really watch how much of them you're having. And of course, we're moving into a holiday season now, so there's a lot of extra food around. So just being conscious of that, making a plan and sticking to it. The diabetes plate method was developed by the American Diabetes Association, and this is just a really nice way to try to really manage how you're eating. About half of your plate should be non-starchy vegetables, a quarter carbohydrate foods, a quarter protein foods. And then you can follow it up with, water or a glass of skim milk, having that along with it. It's really non-starchy vegetables include things like broccoli, carrots, cauliflower. Remember the protein foods, things like fish, seafood, poultry, your beans, lentils fall in there. And then the carbohydrate food, try to make sure they're fresh, frozen, or canned without any added sugar or salt if you can get them that way. So thinking about what your plate looks like can be a really nice way to manage and start eating a healthy diet. So exercise, that's the second thing that we talked about, and we talked about how important exercise is. Exercise actually helps your body make more insulin, and remember, insulin is important to bring the blood sugar down. So we really, that's why exercise not only helps manage your weight, but it actually helps you to lower your blood sugar. That's how exercise prevents diabetes. Just like we talked about making some changes, some small changes in your eating, the same thing is so important with your exercise. Small changes in your exercise habits can make a big difference in your health. If you're worried about your health while exercising, talk with your doctor or work on a plan together. But one tip that I have is, first of all, if you are going to start an exercise program, the best exercise program for you is the one that you'll do. Just because one of your friends loves running, if you don't like running, that's not going to work for you because you're not going to keep doing it. So just make sure you're focusing on making small changes. So you should try to do some exercise every day. Remember, we're talking about preventing diabetes here. So it is so important. We want to get that blood sugar down. We don't want to have too much blood sugar floating around our body. And it's not one size fits all. Do what works best for you to be active. Make a goal, stick to it is a big part of staying active. So what are some ways you can exercise at home? A lot of people do get a fitness club membership, and that's great. That can be an incentive for you to go someplace, but we're kind of trying to stay a little bit more at home these days. So what are some things you can do? A 10 to 30-minute walk is great. Bring a friend or a family member with you, or if you have a dog, your dog may need a walk. That's a great reason to get out there and do it. And I will tell you, if you have not been doing exercise regularly, even a 5-minute walk is a great way to start. And you can even build that into your day. Try to take 3 or 4 different times during the day just to do 5 minutes of walking. It's a great way to get started. Running, of course, is a great exercise, but as I said, if you don't like it, it's not the best choice for you. Don't forget things like yoga and stretching. Even dancing. If there's music you like, put some music on and just dance around the house. You can get your heart rate up, you can have some fun with it, and you don't even know that you're exercising. Doing sports, things like basketball or soccer, or if there is a sport that you really enjoy, go ahead and shoot some baskets outside. Even if it's just you, it can be a fun way to do it. One of the great things that has come out of COVID is that there are so many free fitness videos available. Wisconsin Public Television actually has a whole series of chair yoga stretching exercises that you can do, but there are so many out there. So feel free to look those up, try them out. If you don't like them, if they don't fit your fitness level, you don't have to do it again, but keep looking for those that you like. And of course, there's the old standbys, doing sit-ups, crunches, push-ups, jumping jacks or jumping rope. Those are all things that there's so many different ways that you can get exercise. The important thing, number one, start. Set a goal for yourself Start slow, start small, make those small changes, but do it and try to do something every day. So the third thing that we want to talk about is seeing your doctor and why that is so important. Going to your doctor every year really does help you keep healthy. Your doctor will, even though we hate it, will track your weight and will talk to you about how you're feeling. Remember all those different symptoms I talked about early on? If you're experiencing any of those, this is the time you can bring it up with your doctor. They'll run tests for diseases you might be at risk for, like diabetes. I mentioned how they can kind of track your blood sugars. It's important for that to happen because they need to see if there's a pattern there. And they can also be a resource for you. They can connect you with groups in your community that help people eat healthy foods or exercise, different groups that they may have. I mentioned a lot of health systems do a lot of community programming. So that's just such an important thing there. Yearly visits can help you live a longer and healthier life. There are a few tests doctors will use to see if you have diabetes. Sometimes they do the fasting blood sugar test. This is typically the first one that they're gonna check. That's where you fast and then you go in and you have your blood drawn, and after you haven't eaten for at least 8 hours. And one of the tests they will typically run is your blood sugar. They can also do what's called a glucose tolerance test, and that shows if your body is able to make enough insulin to keep your blood sugar low. They do this after they have you drink a very sugary, sweet drink, and then you wait a little bit and they check your blood sugar. They also can do a test called the hemoglobin A1C. That tells what your blood sugars have been over the last 3 months. And then there's the very simple one, which is the random glucose check, which is they check your blood sugar with a little finger stick. A high random blood sugar with symptoms of diabetes, like thirst and going to the bathroom a lot and always being hungry, that can mean diabetes. They're not going to diagnose it from that, but that may mean that they're going to do some additional testing. Health insurance can help. Health insurance will cover most preventative care for free, which is also why it's so important to get in annually to see your doctor. And you can also call your health insurance customer service to learn more about any services that are covered, or if you have been diagnosed with diabetes, they can tell you what kind of services are covered and what those services may cost. So in conclusion, type 2 diabetes is very common, and it's also chronic. High blood sugars can cause damage all over the body. And the best ways to prevent diabetes: eat a healthy diet, exercise, and see your doctor every year. So you may have questions about this. As I mentioned, the Augusta Memorial Public Library does have some handouts. They have some information that goes along with this presentation. So if you stop in there, they can get you that information, or if you send them an email, they would be able to get you the information that they have. And if you have any questions, you can also email me at healthliteracy@wisconsinliteracy.org. So thank you for your attention to this very important program. And remember, this program was brought to you by Wisconsin Health Literacy, which is a division of Wisconsin Literacy. And the program today was supported by the Security Health Plan. Thank you very much.
Hey, Cassie, there was a question in the chat box. I don't know if you are prepared to answer it. It was, what are your thoughts about using sugar substitutes such as Swerve?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Stacy, for bringing that to my attention. Sugar substitutes do have a role to play. But as with so many things, you need to be very cautious about them. And what I would suggest is if you are worried about getting too much sugar in the foods that you're eating, it might be better to try to find some natural substitutes that you can use. To use a sugar substitute occasionally is not a problem. That's not something that's going to be a problem. But if you're thinking about using it in all of your baking or all of your all of the cooking that you're doing, or as a sweetener on things, you want to be very careful with that. They may be a natural product, but there can be some issues if you use too much of it. Just like everything. So I hope that answered your question. If it didn't, please go ahead and send me an email, healthliteracy@wisconsinliteracy.org. Or another suggestion I would have is checking with your health system, with your physician's office, and they may be able to refer you to a health educator in your area who would be more than happy, I am sure, to go over some of the different materials and give you some additional information on that. Was there anything else?
That was it. Thank you so much, Cassie.